All right. What's up, Blueprint family? Thank you all for joining us tonight. Tonight's topic: money and relationships. How to make sure your finances, what is it? Don't ruin your relationship.
Yeah, your love life. Oh, all right, y'all. Quick disclaimer: our daughter is having
I
a
got it.
hard night. No, I got it. I
No,
want
let
to
me
do
got it. You got it.
no. Oh, she is having our daughter is having a very interesting teething night tonight for any of the parents out there that know what it's like with the teething toddler with her molars coming in. So tonight, that is why we are a little late. And my husband is sending to her because she's a daddy's girl. So she loves to ask for her daddy. But we are going to, hold on, let's see. I'll be at the party. Uh, God, I can't really read it all. I don't know what that is. Maybe spam. I don't know. Anywho's, we're gonna hold this down for my husband simply until he gets back, as he is dealing with our sweet baby girl. But in the meantime, let me see. I'm going to get ready to pull this up on our YouTube. Wait, hold on. Play our music and stuff. Oh, y'all, as we get settled in, thank y'all for joining us, like we always say, especially as we are running a little bit late. Let me see. I'm going to try to pull this up to do our sound, make sure our sound is good and going. Hold on. All right. All right. That is good. So, like my husband was saying, this kind of is a continuation on our topic that we talked about last night: money and relationships, and really how to make sure that your finances, in particular for tonight, don't ruin your love life. Because as we all know, money is one of those top things that really end up being a challenging topic to discuss within relationships. So I think it's very important if we go ahead and talk about how you can do this in a healthy manner. We're going to go through it for dating, and then we're also going to go through it for marriage. But I'm going to hold off on particular this question that this all started from, because this question is a great question. I'm going to wait until my husband comes on in. But this question in particular, this guy is trying to figure out what to do about finances, because the subject: I don't think we can afford children, but my wife doesn't understand. So this is a clear example of how important it is to be on the same page of finances within your relationship. And you are right on time, baby.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
As always, this is a live show, so you are welcome to fill on in with your comments and questions, not spammy ones. And we will be sure to chit chat about things. If you have any other topics aside from what we're talking about tonight, or you can request to join the live through Instagram, or if you do not want to be on camera, you're more than welcome to join us through the Restream link on our YouTube, is where you can actually just talk with a icon versus being actually on camera. So if that's something you're more comfortable doing, please feel free to join us, and we'll be great to get a little personal and break down some questions for you if you have any. So we're going to start with the question for tonight about our topic. The message said, I met my wife 5 years ago online. We felt the spark pretty soon and got married in 2 years. We had discussion about children, and I told her that I am open to them, but only when we can comfortably afford them. My childhood was different. My father was always working to provide for our family, and we barely get to see him other than at breakfast in the morning. I'm going to go ahead and pull this question up now, babe, that you are here, so our YouTube viewers can view on in. Sorry. Okay. So he was saying, We barely got to see him other than at breakfast in the morning. It was just our mother with us. And due to those experiences, I decided that I won't have kids until I'm at a place where I can provide for them without missing out on anything. I shared this with my wife prior to our marriage. We are financially comfortable now, but quick calculations made me realize that I would considerably have to put our foot down. We will be a few inches away from living paycheck to paycheck. We have been saving for a while that we want to invest. I told her that once the investment starts yielding profits, we can definitely consider kids, but not before that. She wasn't receptive and told me that I was being paranoid and unreasonable. I love her and I understand where she is coming from, but I want to provide my future kid with everything in this world and him or her to have my full attention, and I don't want to miss any of it. So, what should I do? We haven't really talked. She has been cold. I don't think she is mad. She is just sad. So,
What do you think?
well, you start.
You want me to?
Yeah.
All right. Um, it- I would like to first thought about what you should have done in the beginning, and that involves first laying out your boundaries, and that would have saved you this conversation as far as what it looks like having children and the marriage and the relationship, something that we need to be mindful of. And the thing is that now he comes to a crossroad about children, and he doesn't want to have children yet because he's not financially ready for children. This conversation would have been easier to have had in the beginning before marriage, so that you both can have this understanding and plan out exactly how things were going to go. Now, I understand that things aren't always perfect. You have children sometimes before marriage or either during the marriage, and you're not ready for it. But here he's in a position to where they are saving up, wanting to invest, and then he wants to have children, but the wife wants to do the latter. I can only wonder what's the age of the wife. And they've been married for 2 years, you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Got married in 2 years.
Yeah. So that would have been
Well, no, they said they met 5 years. 5 years ago online, we got married in 2 years. So maybe they've been together 3 years.
It's perfect timing. Perfect timing. They did that part right, I would say. But as far as the children and the planning and actually bringing that discussion up early in the relationship, so that you don't have to come to this crossroads about when are we having children.
Well, yeah, I think they did. He said they did talk about it in the beginning prior to marriage.
Okay.
But in kind of what I think the main missing point that he didn't do was elaborate on that plan. He kind of left it at, oh, we're going to invest and then we're going to,
have children
start
after
considering
the return on the
kids.
investment, because that could be a long time.
Right. And you don't really
you.
know what that looks like. I mean, because in general, he did the first part, which was, he went and gave her kind of his explanation as to why, he didn't want to have children. So that's always the first part to any resolution, is you kind of have to talk to your spouse about your concerns. And like you were saying, it's super important to have that open and honest conversation with your spouse as early as possible. Right. So that's why we're going to go into that tonight. But yeah, that's the...
So that's what he should have done. Have that conversation with her as early as possible, so that they both are secure in the decision that they make. And
that needed a financial plan in particular. I think that this plan should have included how much money you need to save and how you're going to, adjust your budget for children, how you're going to allocate for childcare if necessary, like what that would look like. And in particular, the reason why I think that's important now is because she's left with a lot of anxiety of not knowing, okay, you're telling me we're going to wait, but you're not telling me when or how this is going to look, or, we're not actively planning towards, actually pregnancy. And in particular, a financial plan and actually sitting down and drafting that together will really provide some type of reassurance that you're going to need as a couple to really get on track for even, financially planning, but just in general, helping your spouse to feel less hesitant about, delaying the pregnancy, especially if she's maybe a little close to really needing to, go ahead and have kids, depending on the age, like you were saying, a friend. Because they didn't do that. That was the main part, I think, that was really missing. Like you were saying in the conversation, I think they scratched the surface of it, but never.
Right, because what he's checking for, if I may continue what I was saying in the beginning, if the thing he needs to confirm is that she's with the plan, like you were stating, that is something that she needs to be comfortable with. He need to be very explicit in the beginning so that to make sure that this return on that investment, we don't know when this is going to happen, honey, but eventually we will have children. So he's putting his relationship at risk, because women will get divorces because of the fact of not knowing when they're going to have children.
Yeah.
And I was at least give her that peace of mind and explicitly state all that information in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because right now she's stuck in limbo whether or not she still, is down with this investment or of whatever he's trying to do, and then see about having a family. I think that he is going about it in the right way. I mean, as far as financially stabilizing the family and then looking to the future and trying to lock in some sort of investment income. I just hope that it's a smart stream of income or smart plan dealing with the money. But overall, he's just going to have to really figure out a way to get her on board, because if not, then they've been knowing each other for 5 years, married for 2 within that too. That's still a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And I don't know her age, like you said, but it's, hopefully that she doesn't jump ship and try to, be in a relationship with someone else who's
right,
who's can fit into her plan or, come together and have children.
Yeah, I think in particular, something that they should do now is to identify areas where you can make adjustments and actually budget so that you can better afford a child, even like planning actually vividly today. This will give her some, again, reassurance and peace of mind that, hey, we are actively working towards a goal that is very important to her as well. Not just, because the investment part is very important for you, and that's great. But having the children part is very important for her too. So something has to be put towards that financial goal, which is saving for children. So if you could just sit down and identify areas where even maybe to this day you can cut back on expenses, or even like you were saying, look at even more areas where you can increase your money and stuff like that, because you're going to need more and more money with children. So, just making it more feasible for you to have children.
I mean, but in his case, does he really have that? Do they really have a type of budget in order to raise a family? I mean, to get that child? Because what he's saying is that they are living paycheck to paycheck per se, and as far as an investment is concerned, they don't have it.
Well, that's where the financial plan could actually be beneficial, because it can help you identify areas ahead of time to where you can make adjustments within your budget, whether that's cutting back on eating out so much so you could put aside maybe an extra $100 a month towards this pregnancy fund or something. It doesn't have to be anything outrageous right away,
right.
but just something that will give her like a sense of, oh, we're still working towards this goal.
Security.
Yeah, not just, oh, we're letting it go and I'm just going to have to.
Now I want to play devil's advocate here. Mm-hmm. Assuming that let's say that he's 35 and she's 33 and her biological clock is ticking, and she's saying that, well, your return on investment is taking too long. Excuse me. What do you think that she needs to do there?
Well, that would be
if he's not willing
to already bend. Married. I'm never one for her to just up and give up. In a time like this, again, I really think that financial plan of seeing where you can make adjustments to the budget now would be beneficial. Because if it is such an urgent thing and you do want to have children, and you are secure in a lot of the ways of what your income, how you're spending your money and your income, if you could allocate in different ways, that could help you figure out a way that can make having children more feasible in the now moment. And it won't, sacrifice your financial security at the same time, because it's always going to have to be some give and take. So if she's like, okay, I really want to have a baby. So, okay, what costs right now, or we can, just dock down, just so that we can actively prepare ourselves for this.
That's tough because they're already living paycheck to paycheck. My advice would just to move laterally through a career. That's what you need to do. Increase your finances that way. Evidently budgeting is not going to work out for them because they're already living paycheck to paycheck, and assuming that they're
budgeting bad. I would say that's when you need a financial advisor to really come in to see if you are doing things in the optimal way.
Right.
And sometimes a third party who's more expertise in that area will be able to give you a more something that will create a plan that will fit your more individual needs.
Right.
And that could really be beneficial in the long run, especially because they're kind of having that trouble. So maybe seeking professional help would be a big thing to do here, to consider doing.
Right. Yeah, they really need to navigate their financials. And one thing I was thinking was that if by them having the opportunity to move up laterally in the career, then they will free up more money so that they don't have to per se reduce costs elsewhere. And I can only assume that they're making average income. He's making like 55,000, 65,000 or what have you. What investment are you going to make that's going to pay for the cost of your children?
Right.
I think the best investment he needs to make is in himself moving up and getting a better paying job of some sorts.
And that's something too, when you had asked, that kind of sparked my mind too, as far as something she could do, is if you're considering the whole aspect of moving up laterally, how could she help in a way that won't necessarily mean, depending on how she wants to spend her mothering time, whether she wants to work the whole time pregnant and give birth and go straight into daycare, or if she wants to take some time off. All of that needs to be considered. So maybe just coming up, included in this financial plan, just coming up with like how you guys could work together to increase your wealth now, that may not be so much just like you were saying, more an investment of yourself and not so much into something else per se.
Right. Because I mean, unless you're going to dole out, $100,000 in an investment and you wait 3 years for the return or what have you, then I would say if you all are that young in order to do that, then go for it. But if she's getting older, and we understand the risks of pregnancy for women who are in their middle 30s and how that can be risky. You don't want to put her life at risk having children so late. And risking the chance of having some sort of difficult pregnancy that may not be successful. So he needs to take that into consideration as well. But I think that the easiest and quickest thing that they can do is actually apply for jobs that pay them more and use that money that they're currently making to actually raise their child with.
Budget a little better, speak with that financial advisor to assess your financial situation. Of course, that's the best route for sure. But then also, you got to be patient with all of this. And in particular, when I think about, she's saying she's been cold and, she's sad,
Of course.
Yeah, you got to be patient.
Of course. I've witnessed people get divorced because the man is holding out, wanting to have children. And he's waiting. He said, not right now. We don't want to have children. And then the woman goes out and cheats on him. Yeah. I've seen that. I've witnessed that, and it's so unfortunate. But things like that do happen because women want to, that situation. The woman wanted to have children, and she did that and risked her marriage because that was part of her goal, and they didn't talk about this in the beginning. So
I don't recommend doing that. Certainly not when you're married.
No, but desperate times, desperate measures. When women approach, they well into their 30s, wanting to have children. And if their husband's not wanting to do that with them, then they're willing to, in some cases, are willing to step out and find a better suitor, I guess, or somebody who's willing to entertain that idea with them. Yeah. But in this case, the cold part, I like to address that as well. His wife turned cold, and I don't think she's mad. Yes, she is. Your wife is mad at you for not addressing this full disclosure idea of what your return on that investment or your investment looks like, or what it
more
is.
to talk about.
And then now that, you know, he probably told her that, well, you know, I want to do this investment, and then we can have children once we start yielding the money from this investment. That could take some time. So, I mean, if you factor that in, you have to be, you know, you have to make sure that that investment is going to work somehow, because if it doesn't, then that means what? They're not having children unless you move laterally in your career and move up.
Yeah. But that's the best. You're right. That's the best advice that I can really think of, with all taking consideration, all of everything. I certainly don't think the conversation is done. They have a lot more to talk about.
No, but I mean, that's, you see, just using this as an example, that's the reason why we preach that it's better for men to be prepared financially as a provider first before he brings a woman into his household, into his relationship, so that you don't have to be faced with hard decisions and difficulties like these.
Yeah.
It's better for a man to have his working experience and try to max out his career as much as he can, and put himself in a position to able to raise a family with that income.
Yeah.
I understand that it's harder now in these times, especially with still, you know, entry-level positions being somewhere around, you know, $50,000 to $60,000. And this economy, we talked about the economy yesterday and relationships and things, and it still holds true today. You know, I wish I could speak with this couple so that we could figure out more and more and get more details about what type of financial situation they're in. But that it's harder now, and I see why. And I don't, and it's nothing against people that don't want to have children right now. And I thoroughly understand it. I sympathize with you, because this financial situation, this economy does not, favor raising a family in. It's very hard, and you really sacrifice living comfortably.
Starting a family.
Right, starting a family. Yeah, starting a family. You really sacrifice living comfortably. And that's the reason why people are actually waiting later to get married and have children. But it's only but so far that women can wait to have children without complications during pregnancy or birth of the child. So that is a lot to consider now in these times, and it's a real situation to look into.
And that brings us to tonight's topic, you know, all about money and relationships, because money is one of the biggest stressors when it comes to relationships, probably because it touches on so many areas of life in general, from just, you know, your overall sense of security, like you mentioned earlier, being able to move through life in the way you want to, from your ability to achieve your goals, to even, you know, your values and your, you know, shared financial goals in the long run. All of that is a huge thing when it comes to your relationships. And when you disagree about something like money, it can really feel like you're disagreeing about your whole entire life. And that's probably why your wife is just like, you know, oh my gosh, you know, it seems so big. And, you know, rightfully so, because when two people don't have the exact same financial goals, anything from like different spending habits to like financial goals, like wanting to either go traveling or wanting to retire early, or, you know, just even your debt, the type of debt that you have and what you're willing to take on. That's why we always talk about women being mindful of how much debt they're wanting to accumulate before they actually get married, because that is a huge thing and a big source of conflict within a relationship, or even just dating in general. If, you know, these things can be challenging if you're not comfortable talking about that. So that's what we're going to get in tonight. Just really some ways that you can, some 7 tips basically on dating and separately on marriage, because this is going to look different both ways, whether you're dating and actively looking to be in a relationship, or you're already in a relationship and looking to make this a little deeper into something like marriage. It's certainly some things that you need to make sure you do so that finances don't ruin that love life of yours.
Mm-hmm.
So let me close this letter and we can dig right on in. All right.
And so number 1, be open and honest about your financial situation. So don't try to hide your debt from your date. It's better to be upfront about your finances from the start so that there are no surprises later on. If you're not comfortable talking about your finances in detail, start by talking about general finance topics such as your spending habits or your financial goals. Listen here, those people who are dating, start with the hard questions first so that you can weed out the weak people that you may build a relationship with and then have difficulties with later. You know, you might as well start that anyway. The marriage statistics are already down, so you don't want to contribute to the divorce rates. So if you can go ahead and try to find those hard questions to ask, such as finances and debt, and talk about those things, then do it as soon as you can. And see what you see, and so that the other person understand what you're working with and whatnot. And then we talked about this previously as far as dating and checking credit scores. So when you're further along in your relationship of dating and you've answered all these hard questions, she's answered or he answered all these hard questions that the person you're dating, then go and check credit scores. Go to the bank together and check each other's credit scores to see where you all are, and then play to your strengths when it comes to credit if you are wanting to buy a home or get some sort of loan or whatever the case may be. But you will understand where you all stand financially in the case there's a need for something like an automobile.
Yeah.
So it's just that is just one of the things we need to do. We need to stop shying away from hard questions when it comes to relationships and early relationships and dating.
Yeah.
So finance goals. Talk about your finance goals, your spending habits. Are you a big spender? Are you materialistic and all this other things that may prevent you from actually being with somebody?
Or are you frugal and you need a spouse that's going to be understanding to that? Because, everybody has different spending habits. So,
right.
You just want to be on the same page.
And if you want to start off with a soft topic of finance, ask them, what are your, what is it?
If you have $100, what would you do with it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, you could do like that.
That's just light.
To figure out,
so start
off light. And then, next couple of dates, try to be heavy with the topics like, what are your spending habits, like we said, or
your financial goals for the next few months.
And then, how do you see yourself retiring? Talk about that as well, because if you're trying to marry this person, hopefully they have some good ways and ideas on saving for retirement. Yep. I know we beat up that topic a lot, but I'm trying to get this through people's heads is that, once you're married and you're in a committed relationship, one of the last goals you need to, since you were both working, you both need to be working on retirement, but also to increasing that entire retirement fund that you all have so that you all can live comfortably. Yeah. I'm seeing too many baby boomers back in the workforce.
Yeah, because they didn't prepare right.
Yeah, because they didn't prepare right for retirement. And who wants to work when they retire? When they're supposed to be quote unquote retired. Yeah. So the second one is set financial boundaries. So decide how you want to handle finances on dates, such as who pays for what and how much you're comfortable spending. So we're talking about the dating aspect. It's also important to set boundaries around your personal finances, such as not discussing your income or debts with your date.
Yeah, if you don't want to in particular right away. Especially if you make a lot of money and you don't want the person to just see dollar signs when you tell them, just set your boundaries on when you're going to disclose those things.
Yeah, but eventually you need to.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But this is, simple dating. So
this is like your first week of dating.
Yeah, you figure out when you are going to disclose that, when you would feel more comfortable talking about that or when you won't, especially if you, maybe even have like a big debt that you need to talk about.
I mean, because
figure out when you're going to talk about that.
College loans, student debts.
Yeah.
Ask those questions. Eventually ask those questions. I don't so much agree with that last part, such as not discussing your income or debt with your date. I think you need to talk about those things.
Yeah, this is meant so when you're just dating in the very beginning, your first one. Like on the first day, I wouldn't,
unless you're proud about it.
Yeah, maybe.
Those could be some things that you're proud about. I would
just go around. I make $300,000. That's very
very rare.
Boastful. But I mean, it's very boastful too. Like, I don't know. But that's, of course, like you said, personal decisions, and it's really based off of what you're comfortable with. That's pretty much what this whole money conversation is going to be about, whether or not you're comfortable, going into those greater details right, off back. And like my husband's saying, the earlier the better. So the more comfortable you can get with that, certainly, the better too.
And then talk about your financial goals. So, what are your short term and long term financial goals? Are you on the same page about saving for retirement, like I talked about before, buying a home or having children? It's important to discuss your financial goals with your date so that you can make sure you're compatible in the long run.
Yeah. Good evening, Plus Ultra. Nice to have you in with us. It says, good evening. They could also pull up Credit Karma to help see where each other are. Yep,
Yep.
exactly. That's the great thing about all of this
The apps and
internet
stuff.
now. Yeah, it makes it so easy for doing stuff. I remember when we first did this years
You went
ago,
to the
more
bank.
than a decade ago. Yeah, we went to the bank and sat down and did all that. So that's the old school way of doing it. But certainly, yeah, try out those, especially if you are proud, like my husband was saying, if you're proud of your credit score and you want to get into more of like why you're the way you are financially and talk about that, then that goes right into kind of what you were saying about discussing your financial goals and seeing if you're compatible with your date. And if you are really proud of yourself and the goals and the things that you have accomplished, then certainly go into those conversations. But, use I statements when you're expressing your feelings towards your, and your thoughts and your opinions towards finances, because these are going to be your individual perspectives, especially when you're dating and you don't want to, make accusations like, oh, you're cheap, or oh, you get what I'm saying. Like, you don't want to start off in the accusation side of things. So certainly just use your I statements when it's talking about the things you're proud of and why you think the way you do when it comes to money, because everybody too has their own little thought processes about money. I often think that has a lot to do with how you're raised anyway. Sometimes if you're raised with parents who didn't value money, or even worse, they thought it was something to be fearful of, or something that, oh, it makes you bad or stuff like that. The whole concept of money, being the root of evil and stuff like that. I don't believe that that's true. And I really think that money is a resource, and it's a resource that can make great people even better and evil people even eviler. So it's really a neutral resource in the whole aspect of it. But again, that's all personal perspective. So you really want to have those conversations, like you were saying earlier, to just see where a person's mind is at.
Right. Next, be respectful of your date's financial situation. So, not everyone has the same financial resources. So, it's important to be respectful of your date's financial situation. So, don't pressure them to spend more than they can afford or make them feel bad about their financial choices. When your date is talking about their finances, listen actively and ask questions to show that you're interested in what they are saying. This will help you to understand their perspective and build trust.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially if you're into this person, you like who they are, their morals, their values, but they may not be financially fit, may not be financially stable. So, this may be an area where you may also be able to help them as far as the building process along with the relationship. There's a lot of men out there who are paying their wives college loans or what have you, and there's a lot of women out here who helping their husbands with their credits and what have you. That is the benefit of being in a relationship or a marriage in which you both are looking out for each other. That is the benefit. You don't have to struggle and do this alone.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about yesterday in particular, because the economic world really does benefit relationships and families more, in the sense of you don't have to work twice as hard. If you're a single person, to make ends meet and provide and save for retirement now is a lot harder than if you were in a relationship with two people, especially if you both are working, actively contributing to, said pot. It really makes it easier for you to get to your financial goals and stuff. And we all have to face the reality of, in general, to retire, you pretty much need a two-person income. So if you're a single person, you need that two-person income, and you have to be actively looking to have that in order to safely retire, especially in the time like this where, the economic world is very volatile. So really got to make sure you're up to par and ready for that within yourself and, overall your financial goals and stuff. Yep.
Yep. And then also too, like we said, seek professional help. If you're struggling to manage your finances, because there's always someone out there that has more experience and more insight than you do. So use that experience that they provide to you and apply it to wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, remember that money isn't everything when it comes to your dating, whole what you're doing, you're spending your time together. You certainly can focus on building a relationship and connecting with the person that doesn't have to involve spending a whole lot of money. So really focus on things that are going to have you guys having fun and actually enjoying each other and not just looking to lavishly spend or splurge or flex on each other just for the heck of it, the whole idea of keeping up with the Joneses and
Yeah, because you want to
Yeah.
be realistic. You want to be
Mhm.
realistic about your finances, and don't spend without, outside of your means.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to show off for anybody or
Mhm.
whatnot, but be truthful about your finances. Don't try to do too much and rent cars that you don't have and try to impress women and things like that.
Mhm.
That's only temporary.
Yeah.
You do things like that and you're going to get temporary results, people
Yeah.
who are in and out of your life. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider that.
Yeah. Do things that are going to help you
Practical.
connect. Yeah.
Practical,
Cheaply.
realistic. What is it? Realistic expectations when it comes to finance.
Yeah. Go for walks,
I know.
do cooking dates.
Right. Because I know that everyone works hard, right? Everyone works hard, but your salary may not equal to the hard work that you put out. So make that make sense. Go out there, get those jobs, advance in those careers. There's a lot of jobs out here, y'all. And I understand that, there's certain qualifications for these jobs, but you can move around in certain ways and you'll be surprised about how much money you can make within 5 years when it comes to jobs.
Yeah, especially if you look to raise yourself. We're now in the economy where you can't depend on that cost of living raise to keep up with the cost
There
of
is
living.
no cost of living raise.
It's not.
Unless you work
like
at
that.
UPS, because I heard it's going to rain money on those guys.
Yeah.
What those
They're
drivers,
like $40 an hour now or something like that.
$45 an hour.
Driving.
Their annual benefits are equaling up to $170,000 for the brown truck drivers. Congratulations.
Yeah, so that I actually heard a lot of women not liking FedEx drivers or UPS drivers, and that right there should show you don't judge a person based off of.
But that's close to. They should be making close to 6 figures. But the benefits alone, you're talking about your leave, your insurance, and all of that. That equals up. That must be that $70,000. It must equal up close to that. Your holiday pay leave, if they got that. I don't think they have holiday pay leave, but so they're catching up. They that company makes a lot of money so that they can actually pay their employees. So hey, apply there if you don't if you're not making that money. So you have to be strategic. Be very strategic about where you work at. Stop working at places because you're comfortable. Being comfortable will get you behind, very far behind. And we no longer live in that economy where you can just work a job that you're comfortable at doing.
Yeah, you're vulnerable now, especially in this time. Before, I think it was the economy where, our parents and stuff could find a job and want to stay in that job for I got a job. And, now it's a different age where you really should take it within your own hands to actively move yourself up and raise yourself so that you're getting all that you can out of your life. And certainly if you're dating a person and they're telling you, hey, I'm here right now. I may not be making a whole lot right now, but these are my goals. This is my plan. I think that is certainly something to really take in consideration, more so maybe even a guy who may have it all together, who's not really checking for you or whatever, never turn your back on potential, because you never know how fast somebody really could elevate, especially if they're focused, they're driven, they're ambitious. Like, yeah, you never know. But that's mostly for the dating part.
Yep. So we're going to go into the marriage realm.
Yes.
Marriage realm and finances. Let's see what this looks like. So once you're married, finances can become even more complex. So here are 7 ways to make sure your finances don't ruin your marriage. Number 1, get on the same financial page. This means having open and honest conversations about your finances, setting financial goals together, and creating a budget that works for both of you. This makes me think of, you hear about people who have these secret savings accounts. How are you all going to get on the same financial page when you're secretly saving money and putting it away, and your spouse don't even know nothing about it? So, what do you all think about that? About having secret savings accounts separate from your spouses, and not telling them at all that you have that money?
How soon do you think you should disclose that?
If you're married, you should tell that
Well,
they should know
before
about
maybe
that.
like before we hit the marriage part, maybe like if you're seriously dating, should you disclose it before you get engaged, after? I'm always all for being open and
Of
honest right away, but I guess for those who have that secret savings account, that
I mean, if
maybe
it's a substantial amount of money, you should tell them. But here's the thing, though. If you're worried about losing that, of course, we talk about prenuptial agreements. Then you will have a prenuptial agreement to protect that money because they didn't help you make that money. So you would leave it that way. So anything after you all get married, then they could be entitled to. So put that into your prenuptial agreement. Then, hey, I saved $30,000 without you, and and if something happens, we're not going to talk about that money.
Yeah.
That's how you handle that.
Yeah.
And everything else afterwards, then yes, you're entitled to it. If I make a mistake, if I make a detrimental mistake to my marriage to the point to where you want to divorce me, but in no ways are you just going to file irreconcilable differences and take my $30,000 when I did nothing wrong. That happens.
Yeah.
That
I know. Yeah, that's true. And then also to another point kind of about getting on the same financial page is that this can constantly change, and it will probably always evolve, especially when life happens, right? So anytime you're faced with a situation where it didn't turn out the way you thought it would, and you're in your relationship, it's important that you guys go back to the drawing table together and figure out that financial plan. I think of this couple, this guy that wrote and in particular, his wife, they're not on that same financial page in particular, and at one point they were, because they were already, comfortable financially and they saved up a good amount of money. But then life happened. Now she's at the point where she wants to have kids now. This means you guys have to go back to the drawing board and really set those financial goals that are going to help you to both come to the next point, which is being willing to compromise. Because no two people are going to have the same financial goals, even sometimes within your relationship. Maybe you, like we kind of hit on before, the frugal person with the overspender. It happens. We've heard of it. So those are things that you really have to be able to compromise about, be able to really come to a decision that you both can live with, especially if one thing is very important to the other, especially when it comes to something like children. So just being comfortable with evolving and being able to always mitigate around different changes that may happen.
Yep. And then next, create a budget and stick to it.
Yeah.
So a budget can help you to track your income and expenses so that you can see where your money is going. So once you have a budget, stick to it as much as possible.
Yeah, certainly consider a financial advisor if you're not as savvy with this. There's a lot of resources, though, even aside from financial advisors. Lots of books you can read, lots of YouTube videos and other videos, Rumble, lots of things that you can check out that will help you to create a budget. But I always think of whenever you have a new financial goal, whoever comes up with it within the relationship, it's important to be able to set a budget for this and together be able to say, hey, this is how we're going to work towards this, because that's important to be able to always want to work together within your relationship.
And then also to pay off debt together.
Yeah.
Because the quicker you pay off that debt, is the better you are to stick to your budget and also save or invest more money, rather.
Yeah.
So debt can be a major financial burden. So you want to pay it off as quickly as possible and then figure out what else you're going to do with that money as far as investing it.
Yeah.
Especially for retirement.
Mm-hmm. Huh? Yeah, I'm saying don't be afraid of that, like helping your spouse pay off debt and stuff like that. And you're supposed to be a team. I think it's really sad when, that doesn't happen. Let me see. Brother Peace Ultra Plus Ultra said, I had a joint account with my wife until she kept going into overdraft and forgetting to pay bills when she was mad. Separate works much better for us. Yeah, and that can really happen, especially like when we were talking about spending habits,
Right.
when people have just different and habit is habit. Sometimes it's really hard for people to break certain habits. So it's certainly in your best interest to take charge of that finance and be like, hey, I gotta make sure that we don't go into the ground because of a bad spending habit.
Right. No, I remember living paycheck to paycheck and then having that problem and going into overdraft periodically.
Yeah, I remember too when we first got married, and
Right.
working, trying to build up. Yeah, didn't have
Right.
much.
My strategy was just to make more money. So
Yeah,
that's what I did. My wife
yeah,
helped me draft resumes, applications, and put it out there, and I kept moving up.
yeah,
We really do live in an economy where you can just keep moving around.
yeah,
People need help. Companies need help that bad. Y'all,
yeah,
I'm being honest with you. Try it.
yeah,
Stay at a job for about 2 years. Move up. Move up. Don't move horizontally unless they're offering more money and you can justify it for the next job. But don't be complacent.
yeah.
Stay at a job for about 1.5 to 2 years. Somebody's there out there looking for you.
Yeah,
Trust me.
I would say though, one thing that we did that we were very strategic with was we kept you moving in your career.
Career.
You didn't hop from one thing
Career
to the
to
next
another
thing to
career.
the next thing. I think when you do that, that kind of makes your resume look all over the place and it looks less organized, less focus driven. Actively, when you're going towards jobs that are moving up towards your career, you can go to things like we did Glassdoor, right, and just looked up the different legs of where you could go within your career, especially if you're career bound. So that's a great thing for you to really take and consider and do. And when you're, moving around. So in that way, you're not just setting yourself up in a way, because sometimes it can look
Right.
like,
It's going to be a horizontal move. So if you
yeah,
keep changing careers,
you're never
it,
building experience.
yeah, your experience doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
move. That's what I always say. Move lateral in your career. Move up. Get those certifications and things, and then move and move and get to that next level. I know that you all have business co-worker relationships and things like that. You can still be friends with these people on the weekend, but what's more importantly is that you're securing your finances for the future, and because
Yeah.
nobody else is doing that for you. And the inflation rate is crazy.
Yeah, and you have
I've
to
never
be active in that. Yeah.
right. I'm a product of the 80s, growing up in the 90s and just seeing how much inflation rates have taken off and just looking at the price of gasoline. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. Like it's hard. My heart goes out to those people out there who making an average wage. It's tough living paycheck to paycheck. It really is stressful.
Yeah. Yep. And certainly in the long scheme of things. Yeah. So, of course, that's why we always say save for the future.
Yep.
My husband is working in retirement, so this isn't just something that we just save for the heck of it. Day to day, you working contracts in retirement every single day. And we see how important it is to really save for the future. Not only just retirement, though, but you're talking about emergencies and all your other future goals as well. So you want to create that savings plan and have it in place, start as early as possible, especially that emergency savings. I think our community is really, especially after COVID, when you seen something so random like COVID, it put emphasis on how important it is to have a backup emergency savings just in case, because you never know. And whether you put it into different forms, like your savings doesn't just have to be a checking account. It can be, gold, silver, I don't know, commodities. Yeah. That's all different ways that you could really look to, save for the future in the long run.
Yep. And then next, invest your money wisely. So investing your money can help you grow your wealth over time, like this man is trying to do. Hopefully it is a wise investment.
Yeah.
Do some research first though, and invest in assets that you believe in.
Yeah. Yeah. That you genuinely believe in, and you have faith that it's going to pay off, especially if you're older. I think that's in particular important. If you're older, I think when you're younger, you can afford to take some risky risk and hope it pay off, or even if you can afford to wait a little longer to see if it's going to pay off. But if you're older, sometimes it's not always the best plan. You need your returns a little bit faster. So see how fast your returns are going to come in.
Right. Especially if you got money that you can invest. My advice as far as an investment is like buying some real estate, like starting off small, like a duplex, some a multi family housing situation where you can rent off sections of the building to people who are looking for rent. That is one of the
Excuse me.
easiest ways to get income. What is
Yeah.
it?
Passive
Passive income of some sorts. And then also you've seen those people who buy trailers, those people who buy trailer courts.
Yeah. Well,
trailer
that
parks
and you
and
know
stuff like
that's
that.
turning into like the new tiny house thing where
Right, or either you can
before
buy
it was-
land and put
yeah.
tiny houses on it and then rent those out. Because here's the thing, that people are having a hard time paying their rent and their bills. So you're going to start seeing some weird stuff going on as far as where people are living and staying at in the future. And affordable housing is looking more and more like a tiny house. To be honest with you, unfortunately, houses are just house prices are just unrealistic to me, to be honest with you, in this day and age. And seeing,
is it related to like, does it remind you of like 2008 2009 times or not?
no,
really?
it's worse than that. The housing prices are worse than that, than 2008 and 2009, to be honest with you. So you have to really challenge yourself and figure out ways that you can get that money that have that affordable salary in order to own a home now these times. But like I said, like the starting out, the starter home is more looking more and more like looking like a tiny house. Yeah, real estate and dividend snowball cash flows are great. Yes, they are.
Yeah. That real estate is always tried and true.
Yeah,
definitely. And even if it's something as simple as just buying your house and then increasing your equity on your house so that then you can take that out and invest that later on. Yeah. Just that within itself just shows how real estate is just one of those surefire investments. Yeah.
It's trying to someone, they always need a roof over their head. And as long as people work and they'll be able to afford it. But like I said, more and more is looking like having like some sort of tiny house, subdivision or whatnot. You're gonna start
just a way of having multiple sources
streams
of
income.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's the biggest. That's true. That is one thing that we really look to do. Always keep, improving, and it still never stops. It's just one of those things. You don't want to get complacent.
No, because we live in a time now where you might as well build a house instead of buying a house, which is weird. The cost, you might as well build a brand new house and instead of buying a new house, or either buy an old house
and fix it
and then fix that old house up. But the thing I don't like about old houses is that they're so square. That's the only, and they're so square, and they have those it's not, they have that dated flooring.
I'm just always worried about the brick, what's in the walls, what's in the ground, the pipes, the the old stuff. Yeah. All that stuff always gets me nervous about when
asbestos, all of that. Yeah, you don't want to breathe in that stuff, and lead paint and all that.
They have, I'm sure we've all seen the shows. Like they can turn into some really beautiful houses in the end. But yeah, if that's just something you're willing to invest in, maybe go and do something like that. But yeah, investments. Yep. Certainly one way to keep on going.
Yeah, there's really no silver bullet to it. It's all a risk, but I think that it's tried and true real estate. Real estate is always tried and true. If you can lock that down or find something that is affordable, or either you can find some land first and then build on that land, some tiny houses to get some residual income going, some passive income going.
Yeah.
Or either you can invest into a business. You got to make sure that it's recession proof, though.
Yeah, utility businesses are certainly recession proof. That's certainly one thing to consider.
That's if you got a lot of money.
Yeah, if you're looking to invest that way, utilities is one great thing to get into for sure. And also too, I think of like solar farms. That's on the rise too, and you can get government rebates for that, tax rebates. I think you only got a couple years on that. We took advantage of that. So
they
renewed
something
it. They did. Oh, that's good.
And it's supposed to be consistent. The amount of rebate is supposed to be consistent through the end of the term of the of the bill, of the law that they have for the rebates, the tax rebates for those.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the opportunity is still there, and if that's certainly one thing to look into.
But that's only if you live in a state that
offers
credits for the solar, though.
Yeah.
You know, reducing your energy bill is one thing, but when they pay you back for the solar credits, that's more income. So you can lower your bills, also you can sell your energy as well. And then also too, they give you solar credits.
Right.
So that's only if you live in those states though. So look that up.
Yeah. But that could be a great benefit too.
Right. Of course, especially, you know, like having people who stay in those apartments all day, or people who live, or if you yourself have someone who lives in your home all day, you'll be surprised how low your energy bill can be, and you own your own energy. So that's a utility within itself that's invested in paying you.
And your power company would buy it back from you. Certainly, if you have a big farm and you're making a lot of money, that's a great way to make money too, because by law, like, power companies are having to get more green energy, which is
buying it off of solar people who own solar.
Yeah, so that's where the government rebates and stuff come in. So it's a lot of different things that you can try to tap into now more than ever. And then also, because you can't forget, like, this is the internet right now, like the internet age, where it's like the endless options of things you can do to make more money is always available, always ways you can learn to do that. And I think that is really important as a couple in a relationship, and also too as a single person looking to be in a relationship. Just never stop moving, never stop improving, and always keep going.
So
I think that's pretty much all we have for money per se, because money can be a situational based type of topic.
It's subjective.
Yeah, it really is. And so everybody's situation is really going to be different. If anybody has any specific questions or input like we've been getting today, that's awesome. We're here to chat more about it. But, you know, in general, these are pretty much some great financial tips as far as trying to prepare yourself to not let finances ruin your dating life or your marriage in general if you're already in a relationship.
Yep. Just remember to ask those questions early, set those barriers early, and then get that credit check so that you understand your position, your financial position with your boyfriend or your girlfriend starting out early. Especially if you all are dating with the intention on being married.
Yeah, and look to be a team. Really look to be a team. Don't compete with each other.
Have realistic expectations about finances. If you all don't make, 6-figure incomes, don't spend 6-figure money. And rule of thumb is if you want to know if you can afford something, you have the cash 3 times over in order to buy it. So if you don't, then you can't afford it. So just understand that.
Yeah. And that's a big deal, especially when we're considering if you want to have a family. We go kind of back to the question that sparked this whole thing. If you really do want to have a family and you're finding out that it's a little hard for you to afford it, you got to look at where you're at right now. And are you overspending in some areas where you could probably cut back and save some more money? What could you do? That's super important to take in consideration, because I think a lot of times our society lives above its means to try to keep up with the Joneses, or even the internet, the Instagram, lavish things being put in front of your face. It makes you want it, and kind of.
I think that's one of the reasons why people are marrying later in life.
Yeah.
Also, is that they don't want to have to conform with someone else's spending habits. They still want to spend the way they want to spend for themselves, and they are afraid of actually combining expenses or having to cut back. But that is a good thing. That is a good thing overall when you think of retirement, because you have to save that money up now for later.
Yeah.
Especially if in your 20s, the earlier that you save for retirement, the better you're going to be later on.
Yeah, because it's not going to look the same. Even the money that you're putting in today. We talked about this yesterday. It's really not going to look the same. So got to be careful with that. That is so true. Yeah.
Unless something happens, unless the price of gas goes back down to, 90 cents a gallon or something, or whatever the case may be, and supply chains are running full stack, where the United States making its own resources and all of that. More jobs that pay more money. I think that's going to be coming, more prominent in the future. But everything else that our state has to follow with that as well. So a lot of companies can't pay, those wage $80,000 a year. They can't. They just can't and won't survive that way. But
it makes me think of when you first started, when we was working at Auto Parts Source, and you went to the job and asked for a raise, and that particularly is like, we can't. You think you are the CEO, like you can't pay? And I think at that time you was only asking for like 40,000 at that time, or it was like 45,000, and all you had to do then in that moment was actually go to the job that could afford to pay you that.
Right.
And I think that's
that's
really
when I
important
learned
to remember.
Learned about lateral movement. Moving up in a career, and how much people actually need you and your experience. Experiences pays more than a college degree.
It does.
A college degree gets you is the key to get in the door, but experience by far is more valuable than a college degree. I would pay somebody 6 figures who doesn't have a college degree but has 4 years of experience instead of a 4-year degree. To be honest with you, I really would.
And that's unfortunately what a lot of people are end up facing with. They get a degree and then try to get into a job and be like, oh, but you don't have no experience. Or
either your degree doesn't fit the criteria of what we're looking for. And it's weird now because you're seeing jobs now that are just asking for a degree, don't care what the major is. It could be basket weaving. And you're in there. You're in there. So do I think that college degrees college degrees do get you in the door? Trust me, they do.
But it's starting to become like a high school diploma in a way where everyone has one, and now what's gonna set you apart from that?
Yeah, but they don't even care about that because there's not enough people in the workforce.
Right, and that's what I was saying. It's like a high school diploma because they don't care what high school you went to. They're just like, do you got one? So it's kind of like that. Are you competent? It's just like a check of a box of are you competent or not. So of course it's in that age where you do want to, but just be mindful of how much debt you're willing to take on, especially if you're a single woman or even a single man, just how much debt you're willing to take on by yourself as a single person before you get into the relationship, because it's not always fair to just depend on that spouse to pay your bills. Although some men are more willing to, especially if you do what you're supposed to do, but it's not something you need to bet on, somebody else paying your bills or anything like that. So just be mindful of how much debt you take on as a single person. Credit card debts, loans, all of that. Think about that, really. So.
Yep, and then to pay that down, pay twice the bill each month. That's what you do. You pay one off, then you take that money that you used to pay for that debt and you add it on to that other credit card or whatever the case may be. You pay that off.
Yeah, and one thing we did too was pay it 3 days before. That was learning.
Yeah, that's what to increase your credit score because it won't report until the following month. That's if you're trying to set you up for a loan. And then also too, you'd be surprised that you shouldn't pay off completely all your debts. You want to pay them down. Yeah. You want to pay them down. If you're trying to make a large purchase, don't pay it off and then try to go wait a couple of months later and then try to buy a house because it's not going to show up on your credit history.
Yeah.
And they'll come off.
Well, and it dings your score once you pay off.
Yeah, it lowers your score. Yeah. Because what they're looking for is the fact that you know how to manage good debt. That's what they're looking for, which is crazy. Because you may think that the game is to pay off all this debt and then go and try to get this loan for this house. And they're going to be like, well, you're not paying on anything. You just paid everything off. We don't know. And then you were like, well, I got electric bill and my cell phone bill. And they were like, do you have anything big, substantial? You'd be like, no, I paid off my car about 3 months ago. And then it was like, oh, well, you just missed it because it's not reporting anymore.
Right.
So that's something that they haven't told us either growing up as far as getting loans from banks and things like that.
Yeah, they want to see your debt.
Yeah, they want to see you having debt.
And managing
your debt. And then also, too, making sure that you're able to pay and have a good salary. Making sure that you have a high salary as well in order to afford nice stuff. Like a home. So with that being said, anyone have any questions? I hope you've received these jewels well from us tonight.
Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. It's a pleasure.
And our residuals, our residual subscribers and viewers, we really appreciate you all.
And our new ones. Welcome to the Blueprint family. You are officially a part of it. Thank you for supporting
thank you for the hearts. We love y'all too. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow we'll be back. Right.
Yeah. Tomorrow's what, Wednesday?
Uh-huh.
All right, Wednesday. So you all have a good night. You all have a good night. Peace.
Who's that?